Melissa Henson returns to the Warriors in the new year to give us heads up on what is going on and what to expect in 2025 with the entertainment business, including what's happening online and the big case going on with TikTok. Melissa is the vice president of programs for the Parents Television and Media Council and directs the organization's educational programs, research, and advocacy for everybody safe media environment for children and families. Melissa is a well-noted expert, a reliable source, tells us all about trends, impact of the entertainment media on kids and American culture at large. The PTC is a nonpartisan education organization advocating responsible entertainment. The website is parentstv.org. Happy New Year, Melissa. Welcome back to the Warriors.
Happy New Year. Thank you for having me on again.
Absolutely. You're my go-to because I really want you today to explain about TikTok because I could go off about TikTok for 5 hours. Obviously, we don't have time. But just last Friday, under scrutiny, the Supreme Court to really consider whether TikTok should be banned. And I just want to throw out there, this is over, and correct me, Melissa, if I'm wrong, over TikTok being an app that is a national security threat to all of us. Because my question to you then is, could somebody buy it, an American company buy it, and just allow it to go on with all of these harmful algorithms and addictions? So I'm just going to let you explain for everybody what is actually going on with TikTok.
Yeah. Well, you teed it up. Fantastic. Did a fantastic job teeing up the issue. So right now, the case that is before the Supreme Court is focused exclusively on national security concerns. It has nothing to do with kids' mental health. Although we know that at least 14 state attorneys general are looking at the possibility of blocking TikTok within their states because of known risks and harm, especially to the mental health of children and teens that are on the platform. And what's really fascinating, and there's a great Substack that I would encourage folks to check out after Babel. And that's the primary contributor to that Substack is Jonathan Haidt, who wrote... Sorry, I went off camera there for a minute, but
that's okay. We're very grassroots around here, Melissa. We're very do what you must.
But he wrote a fantastic book about kids and social media that came out just last year. But I would really encourage folks to check out his Substack because he does a great job in there of breaking down what these state attorneys general found by looking at internal memos, looking at marketing documents, looking at public statements. So what they know is that the owners are aware of multiple widespread and serious harms, and that they are often acting under the orders of company leadership to maximize engagement, regardless of the harm to children. They know that, for example, let's see, they found, quote, compulsive usage correlates with a slew of negative mental health effects like loss of analytical skills, memory formation, contextual thinking, conversational depth, empathy, and increased anxiety, interfering with essential personal responsibilities like sufficient sleep, work, school responsibilities, and connecting with loved ones. That's from an internal report from TikTok.
Yikes.
They know this is going on. Moreover, they've also found that an internal study from TikTok found that the leakage rate, that's the bad stuff getting past moderators, is as follows: 35.71% of normalization of pedophilia getting past the moderators, 33.33% of minor sexual solicitation is getting past moderators, 39.13% of minor physical abuse is getting past the moderators, 30.36% of leading minors off platform is getting past the moderators. 50% of glorification of minor sexual assault is getting past the moderators. And 100% of fetishization of minors is getting past the moderators.
Wow, 100%.
100%.
Okay, what does that tell us? It tells me nobody's working at TikTok behind the scenes, or Oh, I don't even know to start with this one. There's also, I took this quote, that TikTok's own internal investigation revealed that teens, I think it's from your blog or something, as
Yeah.
young as 15 were being paid by adults to strip on
Yeah.
TikTok's live feature. Okay, this being said, I still go back to, I'm a great believer in banning is never like the answer.
Mm.
I am so afraid that, again, and I'm going to repeat myself here, that it will be banned or something like that, as opposed to why can't we be, and I never say something like this, why can't we be more like China?
Yeah.
Have our 40 minutes where it's educational content, it turns off something where we're really protecting, after you just cite it, Melissa, all of those
Mhm.
horrible facts. They're worse than I can even imagine, right?
Mhm.
I'm so afraid, yeah, maybe it will get, bought up by somebody, but they're not going to do anything. They're not going to clean it up. So, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, I think the bottom line is that we absolutely cannot trust the tech companies to do what's best or what's in the best interest of the children that they know are on the platform. To them, when they look at our kids, they see big green dollar signs. They don't see impressionable children who are experiencing real life harm because of what they are being exposed to on these platforms. They frankly don't care as long as they're able to cash in on these kids. So, I think we have a couple of things that we're looking at here. One is it is well known and well documented that an American child's user experience on TikTok is vastly different from the user experience of a child in China that's on that platform. This is well documented.
Right.
We know for a fact that TikTok owners are well aware of the fact that the parental controls are not being used and they're inadequate. They are well aware that harmful content is getting past the moderators. They are intentionally, it's baked into the design, the addictive
Right.
properties, the addictive qualities of TikTok.
Right.
It's baked into the design. They're the sort of industry standard that Instagram and YouTube and Facebook are now trying to follow with the implementation or the addition of Reels on those platforms as well. They're trying to um, capture the same success that TikTok has had in keeping users locked on the platform, scrolling for hours and hours and hours on end. So I think, yeah, you're absolutely right that even if TikTok gets purchased by an American company, kids are still going to be exposed to the same harms because there is, an inherent um, conflict of interest, I guess you could say, for these companies. If they do anything to mitigate the harm, they risk losing their profits off of kids. So they're not going to do anything to mitigate the harm, which is why it's really critical that we get some of these bills. That we were really hopeful that some of these bills would get passed during the last Congress. They didn't. So we're going to try again with the new Congress, but things like the Kids Online Safety Act or Take It Down, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. We really need to get some of these measures passed to ensure that these tech companies can be held accountable, whoever they are, whatever, whoever the ultimate owner is. There needs to be some accountability.
Right. That has to be the step, because if somebody buys this, an American company, we have to keep pushing. Now, two things. People always say the same thing to me, Melissa. Why is this allowed? And frankly, big tech, everything's in their favor, right?
Mhm.
Everything, because they do, not to get too out there, but I'm going to ask you, this section 230 of the Communications
Right.
Decency Act allows them to act as a billboard. So I know I
Mhm.
asked you this last time. I continue to ask. I really think that is a key to sunsetting it, amending it, doing something with that to help us.
Yeah.
Because again, I jump around with you all the time because I have so many questions. With the involvement of Elon Musk, even at the
Mhm.
last hours for the Kids Online
Right.
Safety Act, I was very convinced that
Yeah.
this was going to happen, and it didn't.
Yeah.
And although
Right.
we're all disappointed, none of us are giving up. We're just going to
Yeah.
start afresh and anew. So jump in on some of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, not only Elon Musk, but even Donald Trump Jr. Retweeted Musk's tweet and said, "Yeah, these are not opposing values. We can defend free speech and still agree that it's important to keep kids safe online. They are not opposing values at all." And passing COSA poses no threat of having a chilling effect on free speech. It's not about saying you can't say unpopular things. It's just saying tech companies need to have some accountability, and that goes to the Section 230 that you're talking about, which grants them right now sort of blanket immunity. So no matter what people are putting on these social media platforms, these tech companies are granted blanket immunity under Section 230. So we definitely need to see some reform there. But yeah, the Kids Online Safety Act would be an excellent first step toward holding these tech platforms accountable for the harm that they know they are inflicting.
Yeah. And I've never seen such bipartisan support for a piece of
Right.
legislation, and to have actual, I can't even, there's so many groups that, descended upon Washington, and parents who've been directly affected, educators, everybody coming together. I just really couldn't believe it
Right.
when it just didn't pass. But again, we'll start up again.
Yeah.
And I know Senator Marsha Blackburn just introduced the other day, reintroduced 4 additional pieces of legislation. So that's good. So I'm very hopeful going into the new administration forward. People have had enough. Like, we're just not going to accept this. And more people know about it now, the public, because what you know and I know, we have to always remind ourselves, actually, the public never knows. Who could blame them? They're so overwhelmed with everything going on. And if you just Googled it, like Kids Online Safety Act, the truth is you get a lot of bad publicity about it, because there's a lot of money behind it to put out their bad publicity. It does not take away anybody's privacy at all. It's just some guardrails. It's just step up big tech. So we've got to keep an eye on that. Where do you think it'll go in 2025? What are your hopes for it?
I'm hopeful that it will get passed during this Congress. But I think that the major obstacle that we need to overcome is we need to make sure that our voices outweigh or
louder. Our voices are louder.
Whatever. Yeah, we need to be more vocal than the tech lobbyists, because right now I honestly believe the tech lobbyists are the sole reason why the bill did not get passed. They spent millions of dollars trying to block it. In fact, there was one of the Washington newspapers, the Washington Times. There was a full 4-page full color insert of op-eds, why COSA is bad, why we need to block COSA, and that was clearly paid for by the by the tech lobbyists, by the tech industry. They are just full court press trying to kill these bills, and enable themselves to continue doing business as usual.
Criminals. I'm saying that, not you. And they have a lot of money. That's what drives it. Money talks, and especially newspapers these days, they're not going to turn down 4 pages. I mean, that's like such a windfall for them to advertise for something like this. But we're going to continue with the public and educating them about all of this. Now, let me ask you something. What do you think? Let's get into some trends for 2025. We're kind of, although I feel like we've been in this year already, Melissa, for a long time, we're really at the top of the new year. What are some of the trends? Because I think one thing that's very interesting, we've spoken about it before, is kids are really looking for content that is not per se sexual. Because we've always been fighting the last few years or so. There's like a lot of sexual stuff. Now kids are looking for more realistic, maybe content-driven, family-friendly. But explain to us what that means, because I think this is a tremendous, great move that kids are realizing this.
Yeah. And this is a continuation of a trend that we saw. It was the same organization did this survey of young people in 2023. And so this is a continuation of a trend that we've seen developing for some time, which is kids want to see more friendships. They want to see more sort of organic. They don't want everything to be about sex. They don't want everything to be about dating and relationships, which I think is really encouraging news, especially, if you look back at even kids programming coming out of Nickelodeon or Disney Channel in the 90s and 2000s and 2010s. You had characters who were 10, 11, 12 years old, and all they're talking about is dating. All they're talking about is relationships. And these kids that are coming up now, especially Generation Lockdown, the kids that were deprived of social interaction for about a year and a half, they really need to relearn how to interact with people, and not just about dating, not just about sex, not just about relationships, but how to build friendships. And that's what they want to see in the stories that whether it's movies or television programs, streaming services, what they want to see is more organic relationships that aren't just about sex and dating.
Very helpful. And I want to point out parentstv.org. You have a wonderful blog. We'll have all the information in the body of the video. Let's look at some other things. Do you think we will ever get these warning labels on social media like we have for cigarettes and alcohol? We can't, we got to try anything. We have to. What do you think about that? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that was a recommendation that was made by the U.S. Surgeon General. I think it was Senator Fetterman picked up the ball and ran with it and introduced a bill last year. I don't know if that one is going to pass. And it's probably not going to be the most effective recourse. But, every little bit, especially when it comes to educating parents about the harms out there, I don't think that putting the Surgeon General's warning on cigarette packages made an immediate impact. But over the long run, I think it helped to reshape, reform, change people's attitudes and views toward tobacco products.
Now, I want to get into something we at the Warriors have been really working on, championing, is this cell phones in the classrooms.
Right.
We've been going, parent, school board, school, because there are no laws about any of this. Tell us about eliminating phones, because the biggest pushback, actually, I think maybe you told me this, was from the parents. Did I hear that from you?
Yeah.
I think I did. And because I only talked to you, you are the expert, as opposed to the kids.
Right.
What is going on with all of this? Because whether we put them in those little pouches and cubbies or check them in, the kids can still have access if they need to get to a phone. But really, we cannot go on. And I like when you said, what did you call them? Generation Lockdown kids? Is that what you said?
Yeah, Generation Lockdown.
I'm going, even though I try to block out that whole period, I'm going to actually use that because it's descriptive. And I think the public could understand that using those keywords. Tell us about this with the schools, because I'm so concerned everything with the education system, because we know across the board in all 50 states, it's really not up to par. Our public school system, even our charter and private schools are struggling. So tell us about this.
Yeah, this is a movement that has really picked up momentum, and I'm really encouraged by what I'm seeing. I think we're up to now probably about 28 states, I think, that have adopted some form of cell phone ban statewide. To keep phones out of the classrooms. A lot of them are using these Yonder pouches, which is a magnetically locked pouch. The kids bring their phones, they put them in their Yonder pouch, and it's locked, and they're not able to access them. In some states are allowed to get them out during lunchtime. In other states are not allowed to access them again until the end of the day. I think this is a wonderful innovation, and I think it's going to make a tremendous difference, both in terms of kids' academic performance and academic achievement, because we know that these devices are a distraction in the classroom. They create discipline problems in the classroom. They create environments that are ripe for bullying. We've seen stories about kids using cell phones to bully and blackmail even their teachers and school administrators, or fabricate false accounts about things that their teachers and administrators are doing, or they're using their cell phones during the day and joining in on things like, these TikTok challenges that encourage vandalism and other kinds of destructive behaviors during the school day. So I think this is a very welcome development, and I hope more states will follow suit. The state of Virginia, just this beginning in September, introduced a statewide cell phone bans in the classroom. So this is definitely an idea whose time has come and is gaining momentum.
Yeah, I mean, it's welcome news. You think, I mean, it's easy for me to say something looking back. You think with the introduction of all the phones, something would have been in place already, but we'll leave that. As my mind wanders off. But you know what, Melissa, concerns me is a lot of parents report to me that the kids, their social activities, whether it's sports or cheerleading, these groups are on apps together.
Right.
And even a mom reported to me that she was not allowed to join in because she wanted to kind of monitor
Right.
her.
Right.
So that really concerns me. What do you know about that? That the kids are
Yeah.
allowed as a group with the coaches or
Yeah.
teachers, and then parents can't be on there. And we know wherever the kids are, so are the predators. They're slipping in there somehow. What do you hear about that? Because I don't hear a lot of talk about that at all.
No, and there definitely needs to be more discussion around that, because even though, and we actually we did an op-ed on this topic a few months ago. Even though schools are getting it right finally with the cell phone policy, a lot of the extracurriculars and after school activities are still relying too heavily on kids having cell phones and mobile devices for communication. And I get it; it's cheap, it's efficient, an easy way to communicate. But for example, my son was off at a program this past summer through a national youth organization that's supposed to foster leadership and so forth. But in order to fully participate, you needed to have a smartphone, because there were stations, for example, where they had QR codes and you had to scan the QR codes. And my son doesn't have a smartphone, so he wasn't able to get as much out of the experience as the kids that did have smartphones. There are other organizations that my son is involved in where there's like a group chat, where they send updates to the group chat. And we said, sorry, you're going to have to use our, mine or my husband's phone numbers, because my son doesn't have a smartphone. But I have heard stories about kids who, couldn't take the school bus without downloading an app, or kids who, missed out on some sport team tryout because the announcement was made over Instagram and the kid isn't on Instagram, or another child who, just like you said, they wanted to join a sports team. There was some sort of a group chat that was only for the coaches and the kids. The parents were not allowed to be involved. And when the mother pushed back against this and said, you're not going to be communicating with my child unless I can see what's being communicated, they said, well, then your child can't participate. So it's really horrendous, and we really need to be putting pressure on these organizations that are encouraging or making it difficult for kids to participate without being on smartphones.
Yeah, I mean, it's really an overall kind of society awareness, education, changing the thinking,
Right.
so kids don't feel further isolated, left
Right.
out. If all the other kids are on the smartphones, and you as a parent, parents are trying to do the right thing, and then there's just all this, being ostracized kind of thing. I actually find the public. I was just thinking about this morning. They're the biggest hindrance, and I'm the biggest cheerleader for the public, but they're the ones refusing to accept a lot of things, or refusing to believe things are happening, or
Yeah.
refusing to believe it's my child, where we have to change that mindset in 2025. It's all
Right.
of us. Like, we
Right.
all need across the country to have this kind of partnership. Now, I want to bring up a company. I'm
Mhm.
just going to say Disney. That's all I'm going to say to you. Disney. Because, I'm still
Yeah.
kind of mad at them, but that's me. But I'll let you talk about it, Melissa.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride with Disney, hasn't it, over the last few years? Because they were definitely moving in a direction of, it seemed like they were being aggressively anti-family,
Yes.
both in terms of the content they were producing, in terms of the messaging they were putting out there, even public statements that they were making, just seemed to be aggressively anti-family. But I think they are paying the price with the shareholder value dropping, losing customers, losing subscribers to the Disney Plus streaming platform.
Right.
And I think they're going to have to change their ways, or they're going to continue to hemorrhage customers. And there have been some public statements by Bob Iger and others within the Disney Corporation that seems to indicate that maybe they're finally getting it. I did hear something that gave me some hope about a character or a storyline that was removed. And I'm sorry, I'm being vague because I don't remember the specifics, but there was a storyline or a character that was removed recently from a Disney product, because they said, we're going to let parents have this conversation with kids. We don't need to be forcing the issue.
Unbelievable. We better get that quote and put it in gold and something, and make necklaces out of it and wear it around. But you know what? It's the bottom line is, money. It's money,
It's money.
right? But
Right.
what I never understood, Melissa, is when the American public, because I do travel our country a lot and talk to people like behind the scenes, they don't want any of that for the most part. So why I feel like it's 10 people pushing on millions of people. We'll leave that
Yeah.
for another program. But obviously they're swinging back. People do not want that. Again, it's the money talks. I
Right.
want to finish up with a couple of things. What do you think what will happen now with TikTok? That's the first
Mhm.
question.
Well, it does seem, just from the line of questioning put forward by the justices in the Supreme Court, it does seem like they will probably support or enforce the ban, um, which is going to force the sale of TikTok. And I think there are probably plenty of companies out there that would be willing to buy it up here in the United States. So I don't have a crystal ball, but if I were going to make a prediction, my prediction would be that the Supreme Court will uphold the ban.
I wish we could have a clause on whoever buys it, like you must clean up the algorithms or you must put the children first or mental health. But we'll be working. Wouldn't that be great if we could just have something that went along with the sale?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
because
Well,
I'm kind
let's
of
make
stuck.
sure COSA goes along with the sale. Yeah.
No, but I'm so stuck on that because look, it's
Yeah.
one of the biggest money makers. It's one of the
Right.
top 3 apps that all kids are on, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
people look at it as money.
Right.
And we cannot continue going down this path of destruction for our kids. But as you pointed out with entertainment, the kids want to see more relationships, less sex, Disney backing off. I feel like the pendulum really is swinging. And so I think 2025 will really be a banner year. We're going to see a lot of new things
Yeah.
because the American people have spoken. So
Right.
I think that's a
Well,
good direction, right? I don't think, and
absolutely.
again, I'm going to say again, and more people are, if nothing good came out of the last, I'm going to say it, lockdown area, the last couple of years, is people are waking up.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
are at least talking about it. People are asking, what can I do? What do I look at? And there's a lot of great free resources, including parentstv.org. How can the public help you? Because
Yeah.
we want to engage you. We want to, have all of your education. We want to have all of your empowerment. This is such a great resource. Your website, your blog, your nuggets of information, basically free for people that you do all the heavy lifting for them. What do you need from the public?
Well, just go to parentstv.org, sign up to receive our free e-alerts, and we will give you every week. We give you information that you can use. We give you ways that you can take action, get involved, whether it's contacting your representatives in Congress or whether it's contacting a company or signing a petition. We try to give you ways to make a difference and get involved and provide you with research and information that you need in order to combat big tech and to make safe and responsible choices for your family with their media.
You're very kind. And I'm also going to say people need to donate.
Yeah.
A few bucks doesn't listen, the American public is very generous. And I think they just have to be directed and pushed a little bit, but that's my opinion. So everybody, don't be shy, warriors out there. If it's $1, if it's $5, every dollar counts. It goes into this education, into this research, into helping you. So I know everybody wants to get on board with that. We'll have a link for donations in the body of the video as well. Final thoughts. Leave us with the beginning of 2025. If you had one thing you want, because everybody's overwhelmed because they tell me this all the time.
Yeah.
Who could blame them? What do you want a parent or a caregiver right now to focus on with a child or a grandchild?
Well, yeah, I would say we need to, our first priority within our homes needs to be limiting screen use and limiting devices. If you've already put a smartphone in the hands of your child, it's not too late to correct course. Either switch that iPhone over to a Bark phone or something where you can more carefully moderate the content, or just take the phone away, give them an old-fashioned flip phone. My son actually left his here today, his flip phone. This is all he has, so that he's not able to access apps. He's not able to do much in way of messaging and so forth. You can't really even effectively send photos. You got to type in your messages, by hitting a number 3 times, or it's very slow, very inefficient.
Are you kidding? I love that.
So yeah, even if you've already put a smartphone in the hands of your child, it's not too late to correct course. And we really just need to be very intentional with getting our kids off these screens and devices. And we need to stop being naive and assuming that our kid is somehow different or immune to all the known risks and dangers that are out there. Every child is at risk, and we really need to be very intentional with our with what we do and what we allow in terms of our kids and their screens and devices.
Yeah, and we have to remain vigilant at all times because these predators and tech and all that, they're always 10 steps ahead, coming up with something new. So we've all got to come together with this and honor our Warriors hashtag, which is community creates change. Well, Melissa Henson, you are a light, a bright spot in our day to with this information, because this is the kind of stuff, you know, that parents really need to know about. Just these kind of common sense, basic, easy things, easy lifting, and be aware of. I want to say, Melissa Henson, you are the Vice President of Programs at the Parents Television and Media Council, and we can never thank you enough for joining us and for educating us and sharing with us and helping us just break it down. We're going to keep an eye on TikTok. We're going to need you back for that one to see what goes on with that. And I urge everybody, again, parentstv.org. The information will be in the body of the video. Melissa Henson, please let us speak again soon. Really monthly we should speak and see what new trends are coming, because we are the warriors. So I want to thank you for always coming on and being a warrior with me. Thanks, Melissa.
Oh, it's always a treat. Thank you.